Welcome back to Breakfast Central. Every morning here we take you through the papers to see what the front pages of the papers are saying. So let's share with you what the front pages of the papers are saying this morning. We begin with the Daily Trust. On the front page of the Daily Trust, outrage over Nigeria's 1,411 delegates to COP28. That's the big story that everyone's talking about this morning. It's a conversation that was big over the weekend. It was something that everyone was talking about. The federal government I spoke with somebody who is currently in Dubai, and they will say to you that, the government is not the one sponsoring everybody. Individuals and organizations are sending their own representatives. But I think what's very shocking, of course, some of the big names in the entertainment space as well that made it there. People would ask, what are these people's conversations? What's their interest in climate change? Nigeria is one of the least contributors to climate crisis, yet we suffer it the most. How are we having 1,401 delegates, same as China having 1,401 delegates? And if you check the population ratio, it's not balancing, right?
Yeah, but I think it's also because of a lack of clarity and sincerity. Because if the government simply says, we're not sponsoring everybody. Okay, then tell us how many people you're sponsoring.
Yes.
How many people are on the government's payroll? How many people are going to be collecting ESTA codes in that period? Because even if it's not 1,411, even if it's only 200 people that you're taking, can we justify 200
exactly.
people? And that's why when the government puts out its explanation, it's just never enough.
And they can even come out in some cases and say, we're not covering everything, it's just their flight, but you're paying for flight fare.
Let us know how many people we're talking about, because everybody. So this is the thing. We're going to compare ourselves with China because we have the same number of delegates, right? The United States the president's not even there. I think it's sent John Kerry, I believe. But the point is, we're comparing ourselves with China that doesn't have the same economic challenges that we have.
Exactly.
And so when we take these number of people, even if we're paid for only 100 people, only 200 people, we always need to be able to justify it to the Nigerian people. Why are you taking 200 people to a climate change conference? How relevant is this climate change conference going to be to the Nigerian people that makes you justify spending that amount of money, taking them there?
Bear in mind that some of the conversations that are happening at COP28 are the conversations that happened in COP27.
Very true.
Between COP27 and COP28,
nothing much
what has been implemented?
And
so why do we feel the need to invest more money?
That's even a whole different conversation about the relevance of the climate change conversations generally. Because the people who are championing it it's a
dedicated contributors. Because
exactly.
We are not the ones who are contributing to this.
Not just contributors, they also are the ones that are even stalling whatever moves were meant to be made. In the last 10 years, there's meant to be, I think I saw an article yesterday that said that developed countries to pay at least $2 trillion every year if we need to meet up with our 2030 goals,
pandemic,
right?
Yes.
The United States itself has barely contributed. They seem to be very sluggish with their contribution. They have more money for war than for climate change, but that's a different conversation. How does the Nigerian government that knows the economic challenges that Nigeria is currently dealing with justify taking, let's take 1,400, take that number away.
Even if it's just
justify taking
100 people,
100 people.
Is not even just. Even if you're taking 100 or 50 people, how do you explain it?
How do you justify it? Because if you can justify to the Nigerian people that the reason I'm taking this person from the Niger Delta is because of this reason. The reason I'm taking this person is because they work in an NGO.
Yes.
Can't 12 people speak on behalf
of the whole country?
Of the whole country.
Also, what this is reflective of is the fact that there is, of course, a trust deficit. So we already are functioning on a deficit. The Nigerian government needs to understand that it now needs to over-explain everything at every point in time until we get to the point where we'll be able to balance that trust deficit.
But you don't.
But for now.
But there are certain moments that you don't even need to set yourself up in situations where you need to over-explain.
Exactly. Anyway.
You don't need 1,400 people in Dubai for any reason. There's nothing that we're doing or saying in climate that, that
it's the organizations that are sending their people for me, like all the other people who are sending them. Can't somebody, one person or the media should go there, cover it, and convey it in the news for us. Anyway, moving away from there, we have here APC Plateau Speaker lock horns over swearing in of new lawmakers. Jakpa, we've interviewed 180,000 Nigerians this year, says U.S. Embassy. It might get more next year. 3 months after, no clue on whereabouts of abducted Zamfara varsity students, and that's really sad. 700 Palestinians killed as Israel renews Gaza bombardment. Pope Francis seeks new ceasefire deal. Gulf countries' diplomats meet in Doha. NSCDC personnel brutalize Anambra journalists, saying media is Nigeria's problem. FIRS grants waivers on tax penalties and liabilities. We did talk about this earlier, and I believe that that's all that we can take. Oh, very quickly, just to chip in. Government-funded contingents, like we said, less than 100, according to presidency. PDP demands refund of ESTA codes, asks National Assembly to investigate allegation. It's waste of resources, says Obi. It's outrageous and insensitive, says CSOs. Tinubu has turned climate change conference to Owambe, says Atiku.
That's exactly what it looks like. And I would just, before we go to the punch, mention, because I will never fail to use this opportunity to mention that when you see, what the story on Palestinian and Israel, you can see that this is not war as, they try to paint it as. This is genocide. That's exactly what it is. And this is the first time that we are seeing a genocide happening right in our eyes, and we are doing absolutely nothing. The world is just looking on, and doing nothing. And another thing is, and I've said it before, that the reason that this is because media propaganda for the last 20, 30, 50 years has demonized and reduced the value of the Muslim life, the Arab life. It almost means nothing. And so when you see that 700 people are killed, everybody looks away. But if you hear that 12 Israelis were killed, there would be, tears all over the world. So now we are here, 15, 20,000 people have died. It means nothing. It means absolutely nothing. And it is not 15,000 people have died on this side, 8,000 have died on this side. It is 20,000 people have died on this side, and these ones are partying and singing along to Beyonce. Anyway, let's go to the Punch newspapers to see what we can find over there. On the Punch this morning, Japa hospitals reduce outpatients, surgeries as 4,000 doctors migrate. 1,197 Nigerian doctors moved to the UK since May 29th. 789 Kano nurses, 162 doctors quit. OAU Teaching Hospital closed its psychiatric unit over lack of nurses. Doctors fought 5% health budget. It's sad.
Oh my God.
Really sad.
That's sad.
But like I said it last week, that it's not just doctors that are moving. Where the newspapers are just focusing on the health sector, but it's not just doctors that are moving. Every sector is suffering it. Banks are currently suffering it. And that's why lately, if you hear about, a slow network with bank or struggles with the bank.
Because their IT people are leaving, their staff are leaving.
Yeah.
It's everywhere.
Yeah. Budget. National Assembly, 6 agencies' allocations rise 40% to 1.4 trillion naira. Over 150,000 Nigerians applied for US visa in 2023, says Envoy. Tax default. FIRS waives fines, issues December 31st deadline. We're rushing through the papers. Kano governor's aide arrested for alleged palliative looting. And also, anger as Lagos mechanic's car crushes more than 2 children. Very sad. We can also find the Akwa Ibom coppers in kidnappers' den 4 months after abduction. Wow. Ogun police student killed in fresh robbery attack. At the bottom left of your screen this morning. And these are the stories that we can share on the Punch newspapers. Quickly rushing through them. Let's quickly go to the Guardian and see what we can find.
On the front page of the Guardian newspaper, over 60 refinery licenses inactive. 18 years after as fuel import thrives. Okay, I won't make any comment on that. Posers about intention to build despite receiving licenses. Nigeria has over 62 licenses issued to individuals for refinery projects in last 18 years. 2.3 million barrels per day of oil proposed to be refined by the 62 license holders. Licenses also have terms and conditions and a period of renewal or revocation. Federal government considering giving oil fields to modular refinery owners. The total number of licenses as at May 2021 is 68, and 40 of them were inactive. Let that sink in. Teachers hold suburb bus hostage, disrupt aptitude tests in Dutse. Oh, wow. Reject Wike's 15 billion naira befitting residence for VP. Serap urges Senate. And this is something that is kind of, in a way, linked to the conversation we're having much later today when we're looking at the budget, the supplementary budget, and the frivolities that we've, the people of Nigeria have asked the House of Assembly to remove, which unfortunately they have responded to by saying that the budget has already been approved by Mr. President.
Yes.
Because I don't understand why you're apportioning 15 billion naira for befitting residence of the Vice President. That kind of money does not take into cognizance the current reality of the average Nigerian. that cannot afford to eat, that cannot afford to buy fuel. It doesn't take into cognizance the inflation. Inflation should be about 27, 28% right now. Projections are that by the end of this year, inflation will hit 30%. So all of that is not taking into cognizance our current realities. And when you
see the fact that the vice president is not homeless.
Exactly. He had a house before. Right? Why do we have to do things like this? I can't remember which country. I know when we're doing the international newspaper analysis, there's a certain country where the president banned traveling.
I think it was Malawi, I think.
I'm not quite sure. I don't want to say where. I'm not sure. I'll confirm, but I know a certain president banned traveling of a Malawi. Okay, thank you very much. Malawi, where he understood that there's money, that all of this traveling, incessant travelings by ministers and government officials is eating into taxpayers' money. So if we had a government that was very sensitive, it would be very important for the government to show that it's sensitive to the plight of Nigerians, not just pay lip service. Because what they're telling us is endure for a while. Yeah. After a while, things will get better. But you're not enduring. You're using 15 billion.
I'm glad that Nigerians are starting to see through those lies. I'm glad that elections are over. The court cases are over. Now, it's time for governance, and Nigerians can now get to see that these people who claimed that they were coming to save Nigeria, they were bringing, the in quote, renewed hope, don't seem to, from their actions, don't seem to have the best interests of Nigerians at heart. Don't seem to understand that Nigerians need to save money. Don't seem to understand that Nigeria doesn't have a revenue problem. Nigeria has a spending problem, and we spend as if we have surplus. We have no interest in saving money. We have no interest in cutting down our expenses. And unfortunately, even we're not even spending on things that bring more money or earn more money for the country or improve on the lives of Nigerians.
All right, I want to quickly take this story as we wrap up, still on the front page of The Guardian. NJC to select 2 new Supreme Court judges. Knocks trail federal government's large delegation to COP28 alleged waste of resources. And the final story I really want to take is failed road. Female passenger dies, 2 injured in Lagos tanker accident. My heart goes out to the deceased and the family of the deceased. But just to mention that we have a lot of work to do when it comes to our roads. And this is very important because in some parts of Lagos, the roads are very terrible. From my own personal experience, I talked about how, this morning, you're very well aware of how I had my tire burst on the express because of a terrible hole on the Lekki-Ekpe Expressway. So we're appealing to the government to look into our roads here in Lagos and to ensure that those holes are filled up, the roads are worked on at least before the year ends, so that we don't have, because there are many people who are going to be coming into the country for the festivities. But that's all that we can take with the newspapers this morning. We'll go on a break. When we come back, we're looking into our top stories this second hour.